All right. Okay, everybody. Thank you very much for coming in on this live stream uh, for exploring cultural differences. So my name is, this is a Get Global live stream. Welcome to it. My name is Link Brown, based here in Switzerland, but American. And yeah, just really, but business strategist helping companies drive business in America. Francesca?
Yeah, hello everyone once more. My name is Francisca. I'm founder of Mercerex, where I provide leadership and sales coaching. And obviously, as you can hear, I'm Swiss. And I'm really excited to join Link in this series where we talk about these cultural differences. Thank you, Link.
Yeah, so very cool. So the last time was a lot of fun. We talked about reliability and the differences there. And the topic for this week is going to be quality. Now, it's really interesting because when I think, I am from the US, lived in Europe for 7 years, and I've lived in Switzerland for the last 5 years. And I've dealt with a lot of Swiss people on, different buying situations. And they always talk, they talk in a certain way, and I hear certain words. And so when I thought of this word quality, I said, I think really the two things that really stand out to me when it comes to understanding what quality means in America versus in Switzerland is this phrase "made in the USA" and "Swiss made," right? And so when I think of it, like I have learned, or at least this is my perception, but we're going to hear from Francesca like how it actually is. My perception was that Swiss made was always about something that was really precise and quality, and it was really about this idea of it really embodies quality for the Swiss culture. But in America, it's really different. Um, in America, the word "made in America" really has less to do with quality and a lot more to do with nationalism. Has a lot more to do with jobs and the willingness to support yourself in this patriotic sense. So that was really the first thing I thought about when I thought about what quality means. But I feel like, it's really important for us to go into it. So maybe what we can do is just say, what is the Swiss perspective on quality? What is it? Francesca, what do you say?
Yeah, thank you, Link. That are really great insights. I would say I feel like Swiss made for me is almost a brand. It gives me really the feeling of quality. It's in the context of business practice, it probably means the product or the service is produced and delivered in a consistent way, and it meets the customer expectations or even exceeds the customer expectations. So for me, it's less to do with patriotism. I think that's really interesting. It's more about pride, that the quality is in a very high standard, or the service, that the product or the service is in a really high standard. So when I see something is Swiss made or made in Switzerland, when I see this on a product, it tells me that product works and is done with this high quality material as well. And I'm also willing to pay more for it because, as according to my expectation, this high quality product is not only high quality in terms of the material, and here I speak about every part of the product. It's also produced in a high quality way with very skilled workforce that are doing this. So in summary, for me, quality means like it's a product or a service in the highest standard available, and also therefore long lasting, and probably comes with a high price.
Interesting. Okay. And so what I understand, what I hear you say is it's really about precision. It's about this idea of trust, that it's going to be consistent. You talked about the materials being a certain, that they're ones that are going to last, and that labor, like you actually expect it to be more expensive. You expect the expertise of the people who are actually making it to be much higher. That's what I understand. But what would you say? What is not quality, or what isn't quality for you?
What is not quality for me? So maybe going one step back to what it really means quality, also in terms of this high labor. I echo what you said. It's totally aligned. But I think also the trust and the reputation has a lot to do with it. So what is not quality is maybe something that is really regularly priced or cheap. I do not expect quality from that, so probably I'm gonna look for for areas where they are not so good. Then a standard product probably is not quality, because again, quality means it's in every detail. So for example, maybe that's a good example. When I go to Swatch, the Swiss Swatch, not the Swiss, which is watch. For me, it's not considered a quality watch, although it's quite reliable, it works well, but it's not high priced and the materials are not the best ones, although the work that is done, it's known that it is quite good. So I would not see that as high quality. On the other hand, also if I build a house, and it's probably interesting because you're in Geneva, I'm in Basel, so we both sit at the borders. As a Swiss person, I definitely would go for Swiss workforce, Swiss company, and pay the price for it. Although they would probably employ, or they do employ, a lot of cross borders, but it's for me almost an assurance that the work is done properly and that the quality is delivered and that there is a reputation and trust behind it. So I think that that's really the difference. So if I do not get the consistency, although it was good, I do not consider it as quality. Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know if this makes sense, Link, but what does quality mean for you in the American context, or what does it mean not to be quality?
Yeah, so I think the word quality in America is actually means something similar, but something vastly different at the same time, right? So quality in the US, if I could summarize it, it really means two things. This is what I see, is that it's long lasting and that it's robust or rugged. Now, rugged doesn't necessarily have to mean like it's built in a way that that's really bulky or something, but rugged in the way that like it doesn't break so easy. So long lasting and robust. And then but quality is not necessarily defined as refined or exclusive or expensive. So when I look at it, maybe the best example I can give is from a car perspective. In America, the best-selling car, in fact, the best-selling cars, the top-selling cars are actually not American cars. They're Hondas and Toyotas. Toyota's number one. And Toyota is considered a quality car, right? But no one in the US or no one would ever call that a refined or expensive car. It's a reasonably priced car. It's not the cheapest car you can get, obviously, but it is considered a quality car. Why? Because you can go hundreds of thousands of kilometers with very few problems, and it just runs. You can guarantee that it's going to run. It's robust, long-lasting, rugged, but by no means is it very expensive. And even if you take Lexus, which is the luxury brand of Toyota, even that is definitely more expensive, but it is also seen as a quality car as well. But it's not really because it was expensive. It's because it's based on Toyota's reputation of long lasting and rugged. Now, on the other hand, On the other hand, you have a car like a Jaguar, and nothing against Jaguar, they're beautiful cars, but that is very refined. It's very expensive, and it brings a certain level of status, but it's not considered a quality car, right? There's actually this joke, or this used to be. I don't know if it's this way anymore, but there used to be this joke in America where they say, if you buy a Jaguar, you have to buy two, one to drive and one that's in the shop. And so people knew, like, you bought the Jaguar because it was beautiful, it was refined, it brought a certain level of status, but it was also something that was not going to last very long, and no one thought of it as that. And so I think that's where the perspective really starts to change, is in this idea, like, it doesn't have to be expensive in America. For an American, it doesn't have to be expensive to be considered quality. And I
Yeah,
think that's where we miss the perspective.
that's very very interesting, because you just picked out a few words that really resonate with me in a very different perspective. So
Mhm.
long lasting is great for me as a Swiss, but doesn't necessarily mean quality. And that
Mm,
goes back to the example I just gave with the Swatch. It's probably
mhm,
long lasting, but it's not quality.
mhm,
Um, we can say like a product is robust and long lasting and good, and we probably
mhm.
would buy it. But yeah,
Yeah.
also this. Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
What?
The second word you said is about the status, and that's really really interesting, because status is not for us necessarily quality. So when I come to probably one of the best well known or the best known watches, staying with the watch example, a Rolex. I think in Switzerland people do not wear a Rolex for status, they wear it for quality, because they learned it's really the watch, that the inside of the watch is in the best way made, um, and because generally we are a little bit understatement, so that's really not going too much into that status field, but we wear it and we are proud of wearing it because it's good quality and not
Mm.
because of the status.
Yeah, and this is actually interesting, because we have a comment from Christian, who says that Swiss equals best possible, American is fit for purpose. I really like that, because that kind of goes back to your comment. I have actually noticed, when I've had these conversations with people about things like the Rolex, the way it's marketed in every other country, it's all a status symbol.
Mhm.
Yes, it works, and people who are really aficionados or really understand the watch know that it's a quality, best possible, long lasting, but it's always marketed based on the type of status that it creates. And so, yeah, and I really like that concept from Christian. So thank you for that.
Yeah,
Thank you for
great.
that as a comment. Um, Very cool. And so if we go from there, like, how do we actually bridge the gap between cultures for you? By the way, if you have other questions or other comments, feel free to leave them. We'll definitely bring them into the conversation. But for you, Francesca, like, how do you feel like we bridge the gap between the American and Swiss understanding of quality?
Yeah, one way of thinking how we can bridge that gap actually is, um, it's linked to that trust I said before. Quality has to do with relying on something consistent and trust. So
Mm,
sometimes in Switzerland we like to have this insurance almost. So not insurance as an insurance company, but this security to that things are really done in high quality. And therefore we are really fan of all these certificates. You see it also in terms of the hiring process, where Swiss people still nowadays really rely on a lot of documents.
mhm,
So sometimes we think that Swiss standards are the highest in the world. So it's not necessarily in everything. So it's not necessarily my personal opinion, but I feel that that is kind of a bias, and it can come across a little bit arrogant to others, I believe.
Mm,
But actually, it's probably a lot to do with this feeling to get this security and to really buy this quality area. So
mm,
if someone would like to be doing businesses, I would suggest it helps that you invite your business partners, that you show them how you work, that you show how your people are trained, that you show how materials are sourced and what are your quality control. And that does not, I mean, in the regulated environment, you probably need to have some certification, which helps. But in smaller business, you don't necessarily have them, and it's also not necessary. You can just show it by being open and transparent about your processes, and then deliver according what you said.
mm.
Because I guess Swiss are generally a little bit more suspicious when something comes from else, and they would like to know how things work.
Yeah, I definitely building trust over time in Switzerland is something that's very important. It's kind of like a step, very much a step-by-step process. Um, uh, yeah, and so when I think about something you said is that sometimes that whole idea of quality, that if it's Swiss made, it can come across as arrogant. Um, you know, uh, again, I definitely can have a sense of that. So I think about when you're a Swiss SME or a Swiss business trying to sell in the US, you obviously don't want to come across as arrogant. You want to come across as serving and as helpful. And so, one of the things I like to teach some clients is to think about the way you price a product more in terms of long-term lifetime value of a client and not just the initial price, right? Because in America, everything is built on the repeat client. I mean, we're a consumer culture. So no one buys something that's quality or something that they like and expect it to just last and they never buy a new one. No, Americans love to upgrade constantly, right? So if you look at it not just in terms of like what is the initial price that your client is going to pay, and think about it more about what is the value of that customer long term, you'll actually find that you could probably create more business for yourself by looking at it from a long term perspective,
Yeah.
not just a single transactional perspective.
Yeah.
Now, there is something that's important to say is you know that the idea of sometimes this is going to change in terms of your positioning, right? Like, so for instance, if you had a client, an ideal client profile that really likes high levels of status, or a product that is very exclusive, obviously patented, one that can't be replicated, that truly can't be replicated, or there's not really another solution or another unique, then you could definitely get these higher prices for this, and the whole Swiss made would be beneficial. But other than that, unless you have this real status perspective, like you would not necessarily want to just create this really high barrier for clients to come in. Again, hopefully that's clear. And that's actually interesting because what's going to happen next time during our next one in 2 weeks, we're going to be talking about this whole idea of being humble or understated, right? And which is kind of an interesting perspective on how things work with when something is high price or expensive or refined, and how the status it brings. So it will be really interesting to see how that conversation plays out. Any other points that you wanted to bring up, Francesca?
Thank you very much, Link. No, I think you perfectly summarized this. It's all about building trust and probably understanding each other. And I think that's a really, really strong wording to get business done as well, on a
Yeah.
personal, but also on a business relationship. Yeah.
Yeah, we hope these live streams are good for people to understand more about culture and really start to build those cross-cultural connections. Thank you, everybody. If you want to leave a comment even later, please do go back and watch it. We really appreciate you guys being here, and be here in 2 weeks. I believe that is October 26th, same time, where we're going to be talking about humility and understatement, again, which will be a really interesting conversation to have as well. Okay. Have a great one, and take care.
Bye bye, everyone. Thank you.